Hey everyone, welcome to Spirit Talk. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Um, Scout, your camera went out, by the way. There you are. Okay. So, starting off today, I thought I would give a little overview of some of the astrological energies that we have going on this month, um, and paint a picture of that so that you can feel into it as we get into the themes today and as you live out your life in between this Spirit Talk and the next one. And to start with that, I'll kind of set a backdrop of how these energies work a little bit, because the most common thing to talk about in astrology for those who aren't like digging into it actively is usually the sun. Like people know what their sun sign is. I'm a Capricorn, Ginny's a Libra, Scout is a Pisces, right? And that's the first entry point that we have to things. And then when you're thinking about like, well, what's going on astrologically for everyone, you might hear about it being Gemini season or Cancer season or Leo season. And that's basically just where is the sun right now in astrology? It takes a month to go through a sign and it goes through 12 signs a year. So every month is a different season energetically. And right now we're in Cancer season. So the sun is in Cancer, shining a big spotlight on the energy of Cancer, which has to do with emotional processing and nurturing and family and memories and all this kind of soft, sensitive stuff. Um, but that's not the only thing that's going on at any given time, because all the different planets are in different places doing different things. So while the sun is shining a big spotlight on Cancer energy, at the same time, Mercury, which is the planet of thought and communication, it's over here doing its own thing. And Mars and Venus, the planets of action and what we like and relationships, they're somewhere else. And so the way I want to describe it is like if you've ever seen a big theater or a big auditorium and the way that they're set up, if you look overhead and you see a lot of different lights of different sizes pointing at the stage, that's kind of how it is with the planets. There's a big spotlight lighting up most of the stage, and maybe we can call that the sun. But at the same time, there are other lights in different corners pointing at different parts of the stage, and they're casting other different nuances of light mixing with the whole picture that we're seeing. And so there's always this multi-layered um, nuance to the subtle energies that are going on all the time. And I think that's a cool thing to add into your understanding of astrology, that there's always more going on than just the sun, though the sun is a pretty significant factor. So with that setup kind of given, what's going on this month is that the sun is in Cancer. So we've got that big spotlight of energy on the stage, and the overarching theme, the energetic focus, um, because the sun is, as my teacher says, the big flashlight in the sky that's pointing at the main lesson. And so there's an overarching theme this month of everything being about emotional processing, kind of going inwards, feeling through what's there, um, and just not with our minds per se, but with our emotional bodies, with our energetic fields on internal layers. We are just sorting through things and kind of untangling tensions, letting things go, and feeling into things. But at the same time, Mercury, which is the planet of thought and communication, it's still back one sign in Gemini, which is busy, curious, information driven, and all over the place. So our minds, while we're doing this feeling thing with the sun, our minds might still be curious, might still have 20 questions, might be learning things, trying to figure things out. And that's going on over there. And then at the same time, Mars and Venus are both in Leo. They've moved on from sensitive, soft Cancer land into like flamboyant, like, look at me, let's have some fun Leo world. And they're together. They're having a great time. They want to flirt. They want to be seen. They want to play. They want to show off. They want to create some stuff. They're jazzed on life. And so those are the four kind of personal planets. And that's the backdrop of what we've got going on right now. At some point, Mercury is going to move out of Gemini into Cancer, and it's going to turn that thinking function inward a little bit and start to reflect emotionally as well. But for now, we've got the this interesting spread where there's a focus on the emotions, our thoughts are kind of busy and curious, and our masculine and feminine functions are kind of fiery and playful. And so you can just start to think of astrology that way and start to think of your own charts that way as well, because you're not just a Capricorn or a Libra or an Aries or whatever. You've got all these different parts, all these different planets, even asteroids in different places having different conversations in different ways. And it forms a very complex, like intricately lighted picture of the overall energy that's going on both in ourselves and in the world at any given time. I hope that makes sense a little bit. I'll try to keep painting pictures like this as we go and exploring the different ways that these energies overlap and mingle and influence one another. And from there, let's jump into introducing our guests here. Well, not our guests, my co-hosts here. We've got Reverend Ginny Brown and Scout Bartlett. They're both different psychic practitioners, counselors, coaches, and healers. And my name is Christopher Mitchell, and I am an astrologer, and I ask a lot of questions. Today's theme, we're going to be exploring the idea of emotions and beliefs and how they are related to energy patterns and psychic healing. This is sort of not a direct, but a nice organic continuation of last month's theme. If you go on our YouTube, by the way, and subscribe, it helps us out a lot. You'll see that last month's episode was all about manifestation and the law of attraction. It was a really great one. Tons of good information came out. And part of that was a discussion about how our beliefs shape what we manifest. And this is a sort of continuation of that, where we're now going to dig into emotions and beliefs and how they work and how we can work with them to kind of better manifest what we want from our experience. I will leave links to everyone's websites, to our Facebook page, and to the YouTube in the chat box. And yeah, let's jump in. So let me pass this off to Scout to get started. So like we were just talking about with law of attraction and manifestation last month, and how we kind of laid this groundwork that what we really manifest from aren't our conscious thoughts. It's not like that one thought you have is going to manifest into your experience in 5 minutes. It's more that like our underlying subconscious, more consistent beliefs are what form our reality. So given that, how can we heal and change those subconscious beliefs if how they're manifesting isn't working for us?
Cool. Thanks, Chris. And thanks for the Astrocast at the beginning. I like that a lot. That's a kind of a nice place of, oh, that's why the ocean's been moving me this way. Much appreciated. And hi, everybody. I see some folks I haven't seen in a while. Yay. Welcome back to my planet, as it were. See, I'm already distracted. I've got a trip to the yarn store between now and next month. However will I get that done? Okay, so I've got this quirky, weird knack where I perceive energy flows and energy patterns and the energy of things. Not all the time. I mean, I see with normal vision as well, but I perceive things in energy patterns and the patterns and the flows of those. And a piece of that that's become very, very clear to me, two pieces of that have become very, very clear to me, and we'll try to hold it to those two. One is everything and every non-thing is energy. In one of the advanced trainings I've taught for teachers, we demonstrated the fact that we could have one person in the class focused on a memory while everybody else in the class held themselves relatively quiet in their mind. And by the time we went around 15 or 20 people in the class and gathered the impressions, we would have, like an artist might draw things in the negative where they draw everything around the item so that you see the shadow of the item. By the time we went around 15 or 20 people in the class, we would have drawn a shape of what it was that person was thinking about and broadcasting. Not necessarily the exact picture, but everybody in the room would recognize that they had been moved by and affected by the energetic of that one target person's broadcast in the moment. Nothing said, just the energetics of it. We are affected by the energies around us, and we can choose to flow with them or not. Just the same way that the astrological timer says that we're going through this stuff in the overall galaxy at the moment. So we are affected by the energies around us. That's one piece that's really clear. But we also broadcast energies around us. And so there's a place that if we hold in mind an energetic state, we broadcast that energetic state into our surroundings. I have one couple that I work with. It's just a blast for me because she dragged him in, and he knew this stuff isn't real. And so because of that, he's got such a strong broadcast on the things that are in his mind that they just, without me looking for them, they inadvertently are the things that come out of my mouth. And then you watch his pupils dilate, and he just gets all wigged out. And it's sort of like, oh, I'm good at this. It's a fun part for me. It's really interesting for him. So two parts. One, the energetic form we hold changes what goes on in our surroundings, not just how people respond to us, but what we're magnetizing ourselves toward and what we're magnetizing toward us. But the other underlying piece is everything and every non-thing is energy. I mean, quantum physics agrees with me on the everything part, that everything is energy. There's no stuff in stuff, it's just energy. But everything, but also every non-thing, your thoughts, your flows, your emotional states, and so forth, they're all energy. And we have the option to either be rung like a chime by what's going on around us, and then humming along with the tune of the people around us, or the planet around us, or the universe around us, or we have the option of choosing our energy state and then letting ourselves be drawn toward and draw toward us the things that match that energetic state, even within our emotional patterning. That was a long shtick. Ginny, see what you can do with that.
Hi, everybody.
Good luck.
Thank you. Quite the baton pass there, Scout. Yeah. But subconscious beliefs, we can feel like that's like an unfair situation, right? But what's the point in playing a game that doesn't challenge you? Until we have a desire for something, we say, hey, I want to go get that thing. I want to go get that ice cream sandwich, right? Like, we don't know what's standing in the way between us and that until we start to go for it. And I think that's a big theme of this month's Spirit Talk, when we're going to talk about, we go into emotions and belief systems, and how these things kind of all work together. But the subconscious beliefs are the shadow parts of self that stand in the way of what we want, right? And so we don't know that, and we won't uncover that until we uncover that. So until I, make that leap forward, we're not going to be able to see what it is that stands in the way of us and what we want. So how we work and how we heal from subconscious beliefs is by becoming conscious of them and then challenging their reality. Sometimes that's taking baby steps, right? Of like, can I really have this thing, and you ease your way towards it, and you untangle any beliefs that stand in the way or the perceived blocks that stand in the way. And sometimes it's a direct challenge of, let me just like jump in and see what I can do. And so like there's, some growth periods for us. They're all individual. For me, like swimming is a big one. For Scout, he probably jumped in the water immediately and knew how to do it, right? Like for me, I'm still arm floaties on, in the shallow end. So, there's no judgment about that, right? It's easy for Scout, and Scout can be a teacher for me, right? And we're looking at this on a small scale, but it's also on a really big scale. So when you're faced with a belief that's standing in the way of something like that, like I believe I can swim. Of course I believe I can swim. I see Scout do it all the time, right? Like I know that there's an ability in me to get that. So what stands in the way between me and the deep end, right? It's the belief that I'll drown, the belief that I can't do it, the belief I don't have the stamina, the belief that, you see? And so I can untangle those bit by bit by bit and get closer to the deep end. And so like when you're working with subconscious patterns, it's doubt, typically the emotion or the feeling of doubt, which connects into fear. that's standing in the way between you and what you want. I hope that was a good piggyback there. Chris, I'll let you take it back.
I'm actually going to toss it right back to you,
Oh,
because last time there was a little throwaway line that you had in last month's Spirit Talk that had more audience curiosity perk up and personal curiosity than like uh, anything else that I think got said. And it was you just kind of tossed out there that what is it you said, that we we don't actually think our thoughts, that our beliefs think us.
yeah.
And I thought that we would all like to hear a little more about that.
Sometimes those shower thoughts are very spot on and invasive, and just in their simplicity is their truth, right? Like when you think, like the thoughts that kind of circulate in your mind, what do they stem from? you know Sometimes it can be coming in from a collective belief system. It may not belong to you. You may be a part of that or picking up empathically on part of that, but there is no thoughts manifest from something, and beliefs are what we are here working with, that we have created. In Hermetic law, the very first law of Hermeticism talks about all is mental, right? And so this is where our creative power lies, is in our mind, right? And what does our mind create? It initially creates a belief. If we didn't have a belief, we wouldn't have a thought, right? It would be a blank canvas, an open space. But because I believe I want a sandwich, right? That belief puts the thought into place of what that looks like. And it formulates a sandwich in my mind. And then my willpower will drive me to go get it. And if anything stands in the way of that, then that's something that I'll experience. But to me, our thoughts are not coming from like us or from spirit. They're coming from the well of what we've created. And so inside that is what's actually being thought, right? Like I can do something, I want something, I need something, I'm looking for something. All of those things stem from some belief, right? And so to me, they are the root of everything. They're the root of the construction of this world. Like I believe this is a piggy bank, right? So it shows up in that form for me, in the shape of a fat lamb. But yeah, so it works like that. So, what is really thinking? What are you really thinking? You're thinking, a belief is thinking you, right? And so when you get still, and this is, Scout, when we had this discussion last time, he was talking about disciplining the mind through meditation. And I think that's a crucial thing to do, in some form or fashion, whether that's through exercise or through like a vipassana or guided meditation, whatever it is to learn how to decipher the thought from the belief. Because you can, like an architect, like work on the belief itself. Does that help, Chris?
Yeah, and what I love about that is how validating it. I mean, I love any healing or any teaching that validates us and like makes us more self-compassionate instead of more self-judging. And it gives us space to like not be in that like spiritual thing of like judging our thoughts or why can't I stop thinking this, but instead we can be like kind of the all-encompassing like I guess architect, like you said, and be like, oh, these thoughts are coming up. Like, how can I use them to turn me towards what it is that it is my job here to love and heal and like become more aware of? How can I use this to become more conscious of my beliefs so that these thoughts don't have to keep coming up like little messengers and alarm systems that are telling me a part of me needs love?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
It
and
has to be lived, Chris. Like
mhm.
when you kind of go into the system of like recreating a belief system, that's what we're here to do, is walk the path of putting that into motion. I can't just believe that I deserve love and change a belief of being undeserving of love just by putting all this, smoke and fire into the opposite side of that polarity. It has to be walked, and you have to become a believer of it by walking and receiving that information. And so
And
a lot
like the
of
the
times, people talk about that polarity as an extreme. They don't talk about the walk in between. They don't talk about that pathway. And that's something that, Scout and I both work on with individuals for sure.
So that's like the act of faith of letting yourself actually put the new belief into action, or like to walk beyond the old belief, and
Correct.
then to upload it to your reality to make that
Because,
choice.
yeah, it kind of manifests on its own, right? Like if I want to believe I'm deserving of love, I have to start to manifest situations that are going to challenge, what I have believed, and then also give me a taste of the new reality I want to manifest, right? So it's kind of a dance like that, you know, and it can be really beautiful for sure,
Mhm.
but it doesn't come without its challenges. It doesn't come without, you know, its own process.
I want a little more Scout in this. Scout, do you have anything you want to throw in on this subject?
If there's no ice cream man, then I don't know I need $1 or whatever it was for the ice cream man these days. If there's no ice cream man, I don't know I need $1. And so I can just be playing and ignoring my chores and doing whatever else until I find out there is an ice cream man and that's a preference that I'd like to have. So then I've got the push and motivation to be putting my thoughts toward, how do I end up having $1? Whether it's con mom or whether it's go do chores or whether it's whatever, putting my thoughts toward that. Now, jumping topics. It was so cute when Chris said, I really love any teaching that validates. I was so ready for the word me after that, because that's kind of my belief. I love any teaching that validates me. But it was us. So way to go, Chris. Much, much more egalitarian. Well done. What I've observed is that first of all, God, what do I got? A couple minutes. Great. One, people come up to me and they say, I've tried meditating. I can't meditate, Scout. Which I think is kind of cute because I'm not a heavy duty gym rat. And I would love it if I could talk to my gym rat friends and my exercise friends and go, well, I went to the gym once and I lifted weights and I got no, I lifted those weights and I put them down and I got no muscles. Exercise doesn't work for me. People get the notion that to go into a meditative state is that you sit down, you decide that, and then you clear your mind and you have this blank mind for 10, 20, 30, 80, 90, 200 minutes. And that's not the deal. Meditation's more like tennis than it is like sunbathing. That's the weirdest analogy I've had all week. Yay, it's a score. In that meditation is, oh, there's a thought, whack, got to hit that one back over the net. Not because I'm mad at the thought, but because the thought is not where I want my tennis court to be. I want my tennis court to not have the ball in it. Right? Tennis. You want their tennis court to have the ball bouncing along on the ground, not yours. There's another thought coming over the fence. Good. Let me put that thought back over the fence and come back to my side of the court. There's another thought. There's another thought. There's another thought. So it becomes sort of like, particularly in the early parts, it's a lot more like playing tennis against, say, 35 tennis ball machines, because the thoughts are coming in like crazy. And the whole goal of it is, all right, this is the Western world. I wouldn't teach it this way in India, but in the West, we like to win. And so the whole goal of meditation is every time you can notice that your thinking wandered off onto a thought string and that you can interrupt that thought string and come back to your chosen focus, you scored 1 meditation point. So the more often a thought comes in that hooks you and takes you off to the side, and that you can go, I'm back on my focus, point. I'm back on my focus, point. Ooh, that's an important thought. This was really good. I've really got to figure it out. I'm really caught in this. I'm going to be able to understand. Nope, back to my focus, meditation point. Okay. It's about interrupting those thoughts. Now, energetically, what that does is recharge your energy batteries. So you have a significantly larger amount of energy you're carrying and a larger energy field you're walking through the world with. So in the wrestling match of, am I going to be me or am I going to be the energy around me? You've got a little more weight on your side. Boy, this is just weird. I hope it's tracking. Y'all that have cameras on, if this is making any sense at all, would you nod for me, please? Okay, great. Thanks. So at least I'm not alone in my crazy. It builds your energy field. But the other thing it does is literally the way your conscious mind works is not rational. The way your rational mind works is not rational. thought strings get associated just because they get associated. I've told the story 100 times, sorry for the redundancy, but when I walk in on the produce side of the grocery store, they always have bananas near the front. And the moment I walk in the grocery store, without a thought in my mind, I'm having loving thoughts of my dad. That's not rational. It took me a while to actually notice it, because I pay attention to my thought process. Wow, why do I think of my dad at the grocery store? Because, as a little kid, when I grocery shopped, it was with mom. And then it registered, oh, I'm thinking of my dad and I'm thinking of bananas. And then it registered, oh yeah, dad would take us out for a treat. And when we went for the treat, we could have anything on the menu. And not because I liked it best, but because it was biggest, I would order the banana split. Dad, bananas, grocery store, thoughts of loving dad. Okay. You can get the rational string of it, but it's not like, oh, let's see, I'm going to set together a good thought process. So I'll associate my dad to bananas. No, they just associate. Those thought strings just associate. If you want to run an experiment, get a hold of some friend who's either gone through a nasty breakup or gone through a particularly ugly thing with their boss, and then try to have a 30-minute conversation with them about anything else. And watch how many hooks will take them back into the about they did this and they did that and they did this and they did that. Well, let's talk about something else. Okay, good, great idea. I don't want to think about that. Wow, I walked out of my house today and I smelled asphalt. They must be fixing the streets. Asphalt. Well, I remember that my boss, when we were out in the parking lot, they're not hooked together logically. And so when we're meditating, every time that we catch that we've fallen into a thought string and we interrupt it and come back to our chosen focus, we've created one more place where our mind is not stuck in that particular thought loop. Now, when I was developing my intuition, I did 98% of all of my intuition development work was actually consciousness development work to become aware of my own thought process. And I think that's the biggest piece if you're going to work with somebody that's either using their intuition or, for that matter, advising you on anything. If I have a stockbroker advising me on things, I want to know that they've cleared out their own ideas and that they're working with me. If I have a psychic working with me or an intuitive practitioner working with me, I want to know that I'm not getting their mind chatter. I'm getting their intuitive. And in fact, sometimes in sessions, I have to tell people, wow, this just came up twice. It's just like something I would think. So this may just be my brain, but let me give it to you anyway, because it showed up twice. So, take it with a grain of salt. Key part is the more that we can interrupt those thought chains or even recognize what is the habitual thought chains, the loops, the more we can be freed up to be present in what we are, choosing the repetitive places we place our mind. Because the power of our magnetism is not in the front of my mind thought of, I'd like to win the lotto. The power of our magnetism is in that back of our mind thought. And we can retrain that back of our mind thought by interrupting the thought change and choosing where we'd like our thoughts to be. That was a long rant. And in 30 seconds, somebody's got to teach a meditation. So I'll toss it back to Chris.
I'll just go 30 seconds early and toss it back to Ginny then from there, because it's her turn this month to lead us in meditation. We take a little break in the middle of Spirit Talk to tune in, and we alternate between Ginny and Scout, and this month it is Ginny's turn.
Or we could say a break to actually do what we're doing.
True that. Well, everybody, just go ahead and settle into your chair, wherever you are. And let's together take a nice big deep breath in and exhale. And let your eyes begin to close. And into this internal world, say hello to yourself. By saying your full name to yourself a few times. And call your attention to your body. Say hello to your legs, to your feet, to your torso, to your arms, to your neck, and your head. And I'd like for you to say hello to the energy of joy. Maybe it appears bouncy, colorful, and ask yourself where you hold this energy in your body. Does it dance in your heart, your feet, your hands? Does it raise the hair on the back of your neck? And ask yourself for a memory that brightens that joy in your body. And watch as it comes alive. Maybe you see yourself dancing, connecting in nature, or at peace. And wherever you hold this joy in your body, begin to expand it. Like a balloon, inviting it to fill your whole being. And invite it to extend beyond you into your day, touching the people, the animals, and your environment. And see if you would like to vibrate at that vibration for the day. And commit to it. And then call your attention back to join us here by opening your eyes. That was beautiful to watch. Chris?
So the first half here, we covered thoughts and thinking in the mind and how that connects into our subconscious beliefs. And I figured we should cover the other half of our, what's that word? I'm trying to think of the word for that billboard they put out in front of movies, the matinee or something, the headline, right? The title. So we've covered thoughts, and I'm wondering about the emotional side of things. Um, how do we work with and understand more difficult and challenging emotional states as we experience those? Is it sort of the same process of realizing that they're not actually us, but that they're coming from our subconscious beliefs, and using them as a way to turn towards those and bring them to more consciousness and work with them more clearly. And how to do that when it can be such an intense experience, to have them flowing through us. Jenny, do you want to take that first?
Sure. Well, emotions they're guides, they're intelligence, and they're meant to be felt. They're not meant to be analyzed. Don't analyze your feelings. Like, you can analyze why you believe or why you feel what you feel, but don't analyze the feeling themselves. They're meant to be felt. They're meant to be motivators. And the human being system is 3-part. It's actually 6-part, but when you think of mind, body, spirit, there's different senses that connect to each one of those. And part of the body's sensory experience, one of its top senses is touch, is feeling, right? So feeling is a part of our guidance system that comes along with the body. It's like a GPS coming in your car. You have a car to take you places, and the GPS tells you where to go. Emotions are the exact same way. And so they also, there's not just one road to peace. You can travel down an emotional path, you can travel down a mental path, you can travel down a spiritual path, you can travel down the physical path. All are going to lead you to the same place, but emotions are an important part of that. And so challenging or difficult emotions are just there to be your teacher. They're not meant to be picked apart and analyzed and all of that. They're a part of what we're here to work with. And so that's, I wouldn't judge them. I actually wouldn't classify them as difficult or challenging, because that in and of itself is a limiting belief, right? So it's just a feeling. When I feel anger, I know I'm motivated to create a boundary. When I feel happiness, I'm motivated to share what I have. It's all about kind of trying to be neutral with what you feel and see it for how it's supporting you in that moment. If it's grief, it's making space in the heart for love. So just let it be an invitation, and let it be a part of that guidance and intelligence for how to operate in the world. Scout?
I love when we pick out these topics of what are we going to do next time, and we lay it out, and we have a few questions in mind. We don't rehearse this stuff, but we pick a topic, and Christopher creates a set of questions, and we refine them a little bit, and they look so nice and tidy. Oh, good, that'll fit inside an hour. And then we get partway in, and Ginny talks, and I talk, and Christopher talks, and I'm thinking, all right, we've got a good solid basis for an 11.5-hour show here, because there's so much that I want to touch on. But going back to Ginny's ice cream sandwich, we're not all the way back to the ball of yarn, but going back to Ginny's ice cream sandwich, until we've had an ice cream sandwich, we don't know that we have any motivation to get an ice cream sandwich. And until the ice cream man comes down our street, we don't have any motivation to have $1 in our pocket if we're a little kid, or whatever ice cream man sandwich money costs anymore. I don't know. It was pocket change when I was a kid. But we don't have any motivation to do that, because there's no sense that that is something we would prefer. We don't know that there's in the middle of a hot afternoon, I would prefer my hot afternoon include an ice cream sandwich. And I would prefer that it not just include an ice cream sandwich out of the freezer in the kitchen, but from the ice cream man, because that's got like some stellar gold to it somehow. Until we find our own sense of love, we don't know there is an ice cream sandwich that is our goal. And we don't know that we're anything other than that. Oh boy, everybody breathe, please. It was a sudden transition. Sorry, I didn't make that gear shift very smoothly. Until we find our own sense of love, we don't know there is an ice cream sandwich, much less an ice cream man or truck. We'll make that easier, much less an ice cream truck. When we find our own sense of love, and if we decide we'd like to affiliate to that, everything else is side effects. But that gives us a place to recognize when we're in an energy in motion, emotion, right? Energy in motion, emotion. When we're in an emotion that causes us to clench rather than be in our open state of flow, we can take a choice of whether we'd like to affiliate to the meh, 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 meh chatter that goes with that clench. We can decide whether we'd like to affiliate with the chatter that goes with that clench. Because there's always the chatter of they did this and they did that, or I don't like this, or I'm mad about that. We can decide that we'd either rather stay in the chatter that goes with the clench and stay in the clenched state, or if we'd rather release the chatter that goes in with the clench and choose to come back to an unclenched, open, flowing, we'll call it love state. Y'all with me? That gives us a place to guide toward. If I walk up to a golf course and there's no flag in the hole, there's no target. I just hit the ball and watch it fly through the air. Until they invented frisbee golf, or until you had friends, you could just throw the frisbee. It didn't matter where it went. But once it's either frisbee golf or you have friends, how nice. Frisbee golf is in case you don't. Not well said. Now you've got a direction you want your frisbee disc to go, right? We can choose whether we want to come back to that more open state or whether we want to stay in the clench, come back to the open state or stay in the clench. Now, tool-wise, every time that we're willing to notice that we've gone clenched and willfully come back to that open state, whether we interrupt the thought loop that's going with it, whether we do it with a breath, whether we bring our thoughts back to a beautiful moment, whether we just notice that we'd prefer to be in the open state, whether we notice there is no validity to the net mind chatter that's going on, whether we notice that we're not under threat, we don't need to be in fight or flight fear. All of those pieces are mental parts, but until we recognize what we'd like to do is build the ability to let go of the clench and come back to center. Let go of the other thought and come back to center. Let go of the chatter and come back to center. Then that's your practice. Now you've got a flag on your golf course and you've got a direction you're aiming toward, and sometimes you'll end up off in the woods. As soon as you notice you're in the woods, you want to build your ability to let go of that chatter and come back to open. I do a radio show. It's part of my tithing to the universe, but it's up on our website. There's a bunch of them archived, like a gazillion plus or minus 2. But at the middle of every radio show, we do what I call the live beam meditation, which turns out to be a pretty simple practice to, in the moment, be able to let go of the chatter and come back to your own center and your own energy flowing. Whether you do it as a meditation, whether you do it as a walk, whether you do it as a run, whether you do it with crocheting, whether you do it with somebody else coaching you, it's really about notice the chatter that you're owning is real and let go of it. Because there is that real place where every bit of healing, someone performing healing, definition of that in my world is someone else putting more energy into a system, in this case you, but someone else putting more energy into a system than that system is able to generate on its own right now. That's healing. The healing work I do, I'm also reaching in and I'm untangling places where the energetic threads are knotted, and those also get represented as mental and emotional and spiritual and physical stuff. They're all the same thing. But it's really about letting go of the misconception or the dis of your ease, whether it's an emotional thing or a physical thing, and coming back to your energy flowing, your aliveness flowing, your state of love. Nobody has to have a book, nobody has to have a teacher, nobody has to have a YouTube video, and those are just shortcuts. I mean, here, let me just do this. All right, just relax. It's not a test of your ability, it's a test of whether or not I can do this way. It's funny, it's a much bigger room when everybody's all the way around the world. There we go. Now, you may have felt nothing. You may have noticed your mind got quieter. You may have noticed the colors changed around you. You may have noticed your vision got clearer. You may have noticed that your mind quieted, or you can hear me better, or I'm more present, or my voice is more present. All I did was shift the energetic broadcast I'm broadcasting. I didn't take charge of yours, but the fact that you're immersed in my energetic hot tub meant your body's responded. Cool. That'll be fun, Chris. Your turn.
You do something to me, Scout? Nah, I think I can still do this. Let's see. So,
by the way, to let y'all in on the inside, the game is Ginny and I do big energy shifts and then toss it to Chris to see if he can still talk.
I have to start like just mindfully tuning out of the healing so that I can function as a host. It's kind of not fair. I don't get to ride along, but um, no, I can do this. So we were scout. um, Going back a little bit, we were talking about feeling our feelings, not analyzing them, but feeling one's feelings. And this is like a pretty common saying in spiritual healing, counseling sort of circles of you've got to feel it to heal it, right? Um, is a nice little shorthand that points us inward a lot of the time and helps us relax into what's happening. Um, but then there's also sometimes a notion that floats around in healing circles of something that's called a healing trap, which maybe has to do a bit with rumination and getting stuck on things and continuously creating something that doesn't serve us for ourselves. Or you'll get sometimes channel teachers who talk about like if you if you feel your negativity, you're just going to get more negativity. Better to just go distract yourself, right? And so there's almost a little bit of like an at odds thing here that I want to reconcile, where it's like very much it seems that the invitation is to feel it, to heal it. Um, but is it ever the case that focusing deeply on, working on, and processing things just gets us more stuck in them, and it would be better served to take a nap or have some food or go for a run or something? Ginny, do you want to help me untangle that a little bit?
Well, I'll start with the healing trap, because I do think that that's a big thing. Scout pointed to a law or a description of emotion in his last answer, which is emotion is energy in motion. That's what it is. That's what an emotion is, right? And oftentimes healing traps are caused because people are afraid to live, to put their energy in motion because they're afraid of what they're going to feel, right? Are they going to feel like a failure? Are they not going to get what they want? So you stay locked in a fear pattern. It's not a healing trap as much as it is like a fear trap, right? Because you're afraid of what you're going to feel. So a lot of people are afraid of getting better, to be honest, so there's that too. The best thing you can do, it's not necessarily distracting, it's doing. If I'm afraid of love, right, of like receiving love, the best thing I can do instead of like analyzing or working on it like that is to try it out. Go pet a dog on the street, go interact with your best friend, ask Scout how my hair looks, right? Like, see if I can get a compliment out, see if I can receive that in. There's so many ways to test it in little bits and pieces that will undo that belief system. So the healing trap comes from being too afraid to act because you're afraid of what you'll feel. Okay. And so that's kind of how I feel about that. And like when we're talking about the need to feel it to heal it. So if emotions are energy in motion, right? Nothing takes up negative space in your being, right? So there's wherever you're holding on to, let's talk about hatred, right? If you're holding on to hatred, that is taking up space in your body. That's taking up space in your energetic body and your physical body. It'll manifest in both, right? Typically, it's going to hold into the heart chakra, right? You can hold it in the liver and other places, but we'll just keep it here. So when you're holding on to hatred like that, you don't have the space for love. So when you feel your hatred, when you work on what makes that block necessary in your space, you're releasing it and you're making space for love. You're making space for what you want more of. Like the feeling it to healing it is all about that. It's just about making space in your energetic body to have more of what you truly want and to be more creative, to be less bound by limitations and to experience this world as as a creator, as someone who's consciously manifesting. So if you feel like there's a lot of any emotion in your space that that you have a fear of, could even be fear, is look to see what its polarity is, right? Because that will be that's the gold you'll get out of releasing that emotion. That's a big motivator for me. It's like if I work on letting go of my anger, I'm going to have the capacity to have more joy in my life. I want that. So I'm going to work on my anger issues, right? So it's all about making space. And initially that space is neutral, and then it will transcend, and you'll have the positive aspect of it. So that's why it's really important to cleanse the emotional body in order to kind of heal on all levels. The more you heal on all levels, the better. And it's not, you're not being held back because, you didn't clear the belief or because you didn't clear the emotional body. It'll happen as it's supposed to. Events happen. And you'll be able to cleanse a lifetime of grief, and one good cry, if that's what's called, so just trust the process, but don't avoid your emotions, and also don't bring them into the mind and start picking them apart. Like, just somatically be with them, because they have a purpose, and you can actually use that system of feeling, which is, part of what we're here to experience is our energy and motion.
Let me jump in for a quick second, because one thing you said there made something click for me, and it was um, that the somatically dropping in and feeling and being with things, like maybe in a way that healing trap is the analysis you're talking about, of being like up in the mind, like half feeling a feeling, but at the same time not willing to completely feel it. So we're kind of like only half in the pool, and we're trying not to dip all the way in. And that's when we finally like lay down or take a hot bath or something, and we just relax the mind and we surrender to what's actually happening somatically, emotionally, and we finally just let ourselves feel it. And we take that breath and we move out of the mind into the body. Like, maybe the healing trap where the being stuck in a negative emotion is not letting ourselves go fully through it.
Agreed. That's part of it, but it's really about taking the action, because a lot of people can get trapped in like just feeling, or addicted to emotion. Cancers, right? Like, but my water signs, right? Like, you can just have an addiction to wanting to feel. So there is a point to all sides of it. It's not just one road. You really want to understand why you feel the way you feel, but not to ignore the feelings. So it's multifaceted, but really, like, whatever that feeling is showing you, like, there's gold on the other side of it, right? Like, putting your energy in motion to see, what's if you're truly limited by what you think you are, is a profound way of attacking that.
Scott, do you want to round us out here on the healing trap and feeling your feelings stuff?
I had a client say this to me, and I think she was quoting someone, but I can't give you the attribution. But her comment was, while I understand that an unexamined life is a waste, couldn't I just have an unexamined lunch? And there is the place that if we get stuck in our head, one of my teachers, and I've kept this with me forever, his comment was, understanding is the booby prize in the consciousness role. Trying to understand it is like, playing really hard for an extra toothpick at dinner or something. I don't know. It's not about understanding. And so that Jenny just brought up a piece I wanted to make sure I reinforced. While I have spoken about noticing when you're clenched and then shifting out of the clench, it dawned on me that could be interpreted that I was saying, notice when you're clenched and then push that clench away, to be not aware of it and not having it. And that's really not what I meant. It's really about gathering all of our pieces back together, even the pieces that got stuck in old emotions and old clench. We want to gather all of our pieces back together and unify them. So notice the part of you that is the part of you that has that thought, emotion, feeling, whatever. Notice that, have that, be willing to be that part of you while choosing to shift into your unclenched state. Complicated thing to describe. Simple thing to do, but not easy. God bless the Hallmark Channel and everybody else that produces tearjerkers, because when I notice I've got a whole lot of old stuck sadness emotions, My prescription for me, and I share it with everybody, is go find a good tearjerker movie or a good tearjerker book or a good tearjerker song. I don't care which, but find the place that gets you going, and then replay and replay and replay that, but not going for the tears, not going for the wah, the noises, going for the solar plexus spasms, which we would call sobs. When you can get the solar plexus spasms going, you'll be physically approaching a stuck mental part. Everything physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all the same thing. Anytime you can extend one leg of the table, you lift the tabletop and it lets the others release. Okay. To go into the sobs and keep re-triggering everything that will get the solar plexus spasms going until you can't get them anymore, will clear out places where sadness, grief, whininess, unhappiness has gotten stuck. So then you can have that part of you back. But the key part being, don't let yourself get stuck in the mind chatter that's justifying that you should feel this way because they shouldn't have, or the world shouldn't have, or it shouldn't be, blah, 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 blah. Don't let yourself get stuck into the loop of that. Come into that feeling and then recognize that you're consciously experiencing you rather than the feeling taking charge of you, and the feeling taking you rather than you having the feeling. Have your feelings, don't be them. That's the phrase I wanted. Have your feelings without being them. Be you having those feelings. Be you having those responses. Be you having those mind chatters about this means this about me, or this means that about me, or this means this about what they think of me, or this means that about what everybody thinks of me, or whether I'll ever be, or whether I'll ever get to, or I'll ever have a full head of hair again. Just go ahead and be you having your feelings. And that's an energetic thing that allows you the ability, that same meditation practice allows you that ability to step into that. I think that leaves us time for a summary, Chris.
Yeah, I guess closing statements. Do either of you have anything you want to throw in the last minute here to round us out?
That was way too fast. We need like another hour or 2 or 3. Let's do it again next month.
I was just thinking, we've been talking about psychic healing this whole time, but in a way we also haven't gotten into any of the cool stuff for you to shoot laser beams on the astral plane and unclog chakras and run streams of energy through people. And like, we'll have to do a whole other episode and like dig into the under the hood energetic psychic cool stuff at some point too.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, this is cool.
So my name's Scout, like Pathfinder, Bartlett, like Pears. I do private sessions with individuals. We do this gig, but I'll also mention that every week I do a radio program it's a whole training series on consciousness and growth, and that's part of my, I put the money and the time and the promotion into that as part of my tithing to the universe. It's available on my website. There's a gazillion plus or minus 2 episodes that are up on the website. It's a morning show, so it's kind of got that razzmatazz to it, but it is profound levels of teaching. And I'll tell you, the stuff that's coming up right now is love. And if you go back about 2 years, you'll find a 15-part series about love and relationships, or the next show coming up next week is relationships. So join in on my actually get onto my mailing list. It's right there on my website. But also, please, the YouTube channel for this one, please click subscribe, even if you never intend to come back to it, not because it obligates you or costs you anything, but because there's tools in YouTube that unlock when you get certain levels of numbers on that. So please do. And I know Ginny ties to the universe with a meditation thing, so I'll let her tell you about that.
I'm Ginny Brown, and you can work with me individually, as couple, as family. I'll work with you and your dog, you and your cat, you and your lizard. Does not matter. It's true. Worked with a lizard named Chile once, who was really fun. Anyway, yeah, open for individual sessions and teach meditation, all kinds of fun stuff. You can find me right there. I think that's it. And Christopher, tell us about you.
Yep. If you have anything you want to get at me about, send me an email at unlimitedastrology@gmail.com. And yeah, like Scout said, subscribe to us on YouTube, and we'll actually, right now, if you go to us on Facebook, you can find us on facebook.com/First Friday Spirit Talk, but I can't give you a nice shorthand thing like that for YouTube until we have 100 subscribers. I can only say that you can find us on youtube.com/UCSKUUTDAY7HO etc. It would be very nice when I'll be able to say, find us at youtube.com/First Friday Spirit Talk. So hopefully soon. But all the links in the description in the chat box, or if you're watching us on YouTube, everyone's website's right there. We had a great time. I love doing this and look forward to seeing you all next month. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Bye now.